Day of the Tentacle was originally released back in 1993 and is a shining example of why the LucasArts point-and-click games were not only amazing back then, but they stand the test of time and are still classics today. The game has just been remastered for PC, PS4, and PlayStation Vita, and we know sometimes that these remakes don't live up to those classic standards. But Day of the Tentacle, is this one of those ones that truly stands the test of time, both the old and the new, and for those who never experienced the amazing Day of the Tentacle back then, is it worth finally checking out? If you're unfamiliar with Day of the Tentacle, it is a point-and-click game. That means you're going to be moving a cursor around the screen, clicking on various objects and interacting with them, and you can interact with them in a whole bunch of different ways. From talking to not only other human characters, but sometimes even talking to other inanimate objects in different rooms. You can push and pull on objects, use them, and even combine them with other items in order to solve the various different puzzles. Puzzle solving is the key to the game and what makes it so engaging. Sometimes the puzzle solutions are a little bit far-fetched, and you sometimes have to think outside the box, but that's what makes the game fun, and I really do think it feels rewarding to finally figure out these puzzles and never feels punishing even today. Though the point-and-click genre has kind of, honestly, lessened in difficulty as years have gone by, but Day of the Tentacle is not as punishing as some other classic point-and-click adventure games. You're not usually going to find yourself getting stuck completely or end up killing your characters like you could in many other point-and-click games. The story of the game is actually a sequel to Maniac Mansion. Returning to the game is Bernard, who was the nerdy character from Maniac Mansion, and he's joined by two brand new characters, the ditzy kind of blonde airhead, kind of eccentric and crazy Laverne, who is actually really fun and one of my favorite characters in this game, and then he has the member of the rock band, Hoagie, who is just a very typical of the early 90s, even kind of has the hair like Slash from Guns N' Roses, and is another really cool character. One of the things that makes Day of the Tentacle so endearing even now is the writing. I think those who may not necessarily even like all the point-and-click style of gameplay can appreciate the well-written dialogue that accompanies almost every element of the game. Without spoiling too much about the plot, the Day of the Tentacle is about the Purple Tentacle, who ends up drinking some weird sludge, and ends up becoming not only more intelligent, but also much more mean, wanting to overthrow the oppressing humans and take over the world. The game splits very early on into 3 timelines, with your eventual goal being to enter a 4th timeline where you're just going back to the previous day that the game ended up starting from. The 3 timelines are 200 years in the past, 200 years in the future, and of course, the modern day for the time. 200 years in the past has you in colonial times, interacting with American historical figures as you're trying to figure out how to get the character back from that past. And the same goes for the future, where the tentacles have completely taken over, and trying to get around that all the humans have been enslaved, and you're a human stuck in the future, so you have to use your wits to kind of figure out how to get around that, disguise yourself, and eventually get your way back to the present time. All the characters will eventually meet up, and your goal is, of course, to stop the Purple Tentacle, if you're able to, of course. If you're a fan of the original Maniac Mansion, everything that you loved about the game is still included here, including being able to play the original Maniac Mansion by going to the 2nd floor and jumping on the computer as Bernard. Now, this is the original Maniac Mansion game. It is not remastered. Unfortunately, they couldn't have gotten like the rights to the deluxe version, and there is only one save available, the autosave for that, which is disappointing. The Commodore 64 version, actually way back in the day, only had one save as well, but still I think modern day they could definitely have still added multiple saves for the Maniac Mansion. But the new art style that is included in the game looks great. It shines. Now, some may look at it and be like, there's not as much animation as maybe you expected, but I think they just took real effort to detail. They include every little bit of animation that was included in the original without making new stuff, without really adding to it. It is the original game remastered. But for fans of the old graphics, you can at any point touch the touchpad and go to those old school graphics, and when you do, you actually get the old interface for activating items or interacting with things. So whichever way you prefer to play, I think both still look great, and they definitely look good on HD televisions with modern consoles. There are a few little extras thrown in as well as bonuses besides just the main game and being able to also, of course, play through Maniac Mansion. You have director's commentary, or creator's commentary, with a whole bunch of people that worked on the original game. They got together and recorded a whole track that will play through the entire game when you're making it into certain areas. You can press the down button on the D-pad if you have it activated in order to have the dialogue play during certain scenes wherever you currently are in the game, and this adds a whole different element. For those who have played the game a million times and can get through it blindfolded, this will give you some insight from the creators' minds and maybe some stuff you didn't know about the game, or what went on with the creative process for why certain things were chosen or why certain things happened the way they did. I definitely learned a few things, and I haven't actually played through all the way with the director's commentary, but I look forward to doing so I can find out some more tidbits about Day of the Tentacle. There's also some concept art that is thrown in as well from the old original concept art, so you get to see kind of how every scene was originally drawn out and where it started and of course where it ended up, and you unlock these through playing through the game. You'll enter different rooms and different scenes and you'll unlock the bonus art as you're playing through it. If you're not a fan of the point-and-click genre, I don't think Day of the Tentacle will necessarily change your mind or anything, but if you've only experienced modern point-and-click games or adventure games like Telltale series like Back to the Future, Walking Dead, you may want to give this one a shot. It's so vastly different. Point-and-click games were a lot different back in the day, and LucasArts were definitely the master of it, so Day of the Tentacle is a great place to start if you've never checked them out. There are a couple of little minor things, though, I do think that some people may have a little bit of an issue with. The music is redone, but I think it all sounds perfect. I think it sounds great, the redone soundtrack here. It is the original voice acting and voice tracks. They just kind of touched it up, and it sounds fantastic. There is a couple of times where the dialogue gets ahead or isn't quite up with the text that's currently appearing on screen for what's being said. This doesn't happen often. It doesn't get too bad, like really way off by any means, but it definitely did happen a couple of times. But outside of that, I ran into no issues during my playthrough, being able to play from start to finish. No problems, no stuttering, no frame rate drops, no crashing whatsoever. I think they did a great job of putting together this remaster. The game is $14.99, available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, and PC via Steam. Now, that may be a little bit too much for some people, especially being an old school game, even if it is remastered, but I got a lot of joy out of replaying it. I want to play more of the director's commentary. I missed a few trophies, and I definitely want to play through all of Maniac Mansion again. Even if it only unfortunately has that one save, I can definitely still get by in the game. But in the end, I'm going to be giving this game, and mostly due to the fact that it still stands the test of time as just a fantastic game, and what was done to the game I think does not diminish its legacy whatsoever, I am giving Day of the Tentacle an 8 out of 10. It is a fantastic point-and-click game. I kind of wish that they will go back and take some of the other LucasArts classic point-and-click games and remaster them. We've seen a few, but get them all out there. There's so many great ones I would love to see. But anyway, guys, that will wrap up this review for Day of the Tentacle Remastered. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.